Places? Places for the show. Doors are open, ladies and gentlemen. Doors are open.
It is.
Should start on time every time. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely, please do. Would you like the microphone? Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Robbie Lepre. I'm the director of theatrical services. Thank you. I'm the director of theatrical services at Busch Gardens in Tampa, and I've been working with Howl-O-Scream since its inception, and I worked that entire time up until this year with this lovely gentleman that's going to speak to you now. And I'd like to just say a few things about Mr. Scott Swenson. When the definition of a man of many talents was written, Scott Swenson's name was at the head of the list because he is a director, a producer, a writer. He is a talented actor and a talented improv artist as well. He has a book called Dreaming in Shades of Fear that is dark prose and poetry, and it is available on Amazon.com if you are interested in that. I'll give a plug for that. But he is truly a man of many talents, and we worked together on Howl-O-Scream for the last 15 years. He is now left and has joined as the creative director with this new venture that I know you are absolutely going to be thrilled to hear about. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Scott Swenson.
I have to give Robbie a kickback on all books that are sold from this point forward. Well, hi there. How's the show going for everybody? Y'all having a good time? How many people, this is your first day here? How many people were here yesterday? How many people didn't raise their hand either time? There's always a few. Well, what we're going to talk about today is interactive haunting. And I'm going to use, yes, I am going to use the Vault of Souls as sort of a background for that, but I'm also going to talk about some other things, some great projects that I had the chance to work with the Busch Gardens team, Howl-O-Scream team, and Robbie. I didn't want this to be a 50-minute commercial for the Vault of Souls. So what we're going to do is we're going to use it as sort of a basis, but we're also going to talk a lot about things that haunters can do to make their experiences more interactive with their guests. All right, how many of you are haunters? Great. How many of you are haunt fans? Then this will make perfect sense. All right. Like I said, before we begin, I wanted to give you a little bit of a background about this new project called the Vault of Souls. This takes place in Tampa. It will open this October. Will be open every Friday and Saturday in October. And when I was approached to do this, they basically said, we want to do a high-end, personalized, exclusive haunt experience, unlike any standard haunt that we're familiar with. And by the way, there can be no blood. Message for yourself. Anyway, so it was a challenge, because if you've seen stuff that we've done at Howl-O-Scream before, you know that I'm not afraid of doing gory, drippy stuff. But what we decided to do is we decided to make it a paranormal experience. The experience itself has a very, very limited capacity. It is very high-end and it is very personalized. It is an entire evening of elegant fear. That's the best way to describe it. The overall concept is it takes place in a bank building that was built in 1923. If you're familiar with Florida history or Tampa history specifically, in 1923 there were a lot of things going on. Bootlegging was huge. Spiritualism was huge. So there were some people making some money off in kind of an unscrupulous manner. And according to our mythology, these people were concerned what would happen after they passed. So this bank decided not only would they create a place to store their worldly possessions, but in the basement they would work with local spiritualists and the Creek Indians, which are native to Tampa, and build a place that is a repository for their souls. A safe haven, if you would. The challenge is, when you are in a safe haven, when your souls are protected within a safe haven for eternity, is it a safe haven or is it a prison? So that's the overall basic 30,000-foot concept of what the Vault of Souls is all about. It does start in an elegant club. It's a 3-story full marble bar that has characters in it. A solo cellist will be playing. When your number is up, and by the way, it is 100% time ticketing, so everybody will have a time slot and arrival slot. When your number is up, and that's because you're given a bolita ball, which is a Cuban gambling ball, sort of like a lottery ball. When your number is called, you proceed into the ritual. The ritual is in the basement of this building. It is a 6,000 square foot, non-linear haunted experience. Non-linear meaning there is no pathway. You explore on your own. Because it is filled with the spirits of those long past, you don't want them to recognize you as perhaps one of their relatives, one of their descendants. So you must wear a neutral white face mask, and you cannot speak. So going back to our very first Facebook post, it was shh, and that's what will continue throughout the entire experience. When you do decide it's time to escape, because you are not a resident of the Vault of Souls, you can escape. And you finish your night in a 1920s speakeasy, which will have one of the coolest things, and I shouldn't be telling you this, don't tell anybody. The coolest thing that we're going to be doing is, I don't know if you've ever seen those old, like, dirty movie things that you look into and turn the crank, yeah? Instead of actually being dirty movies, we're actually going to have a live feed to certain rooms downstairs in the basement. So if you go with a group and some of them are too chicken to go downstairs, they can watch you scream like a little girl. And then also on the third floor, we will have tarot readers and psychics to give you personal readings if you want to experience the whole shebang. We will have 3 different pricing structures. It's called the Passbook account, the Premium account, and the Gold Standard account. And these will allow you different access to different things. The Gold Standard is pretty much keys to the kingdom. Can I say that in Orlando? I don't know. Pretty much keys to the kingdom, and you have concierge experience through the entire thing. Ticket prices do start at $100 per person. It will only be open 10 nights, and we expect that there will be less than 5,000 people total who will ever be able to experience this. So, it is not your standard run-of-the-mill haunt for everybody. We're not looking for volume. Also, you cannot be under the age of 18 to experience this. You must be 18 years or older. Okay? So, that gives you... Ooh. I get so excited. I may take this off, because is this too loud for anybody? Because some of you guys sit in the front row going, oh my God. Just to give you a little feeling of what the Vault of Souls is about, this is what I call the flavor video. And yes, all of those images are from the building itself. That's without any scenic, without any props. So we've got this wonderful building with these incredible toys. I've never been able to work on a haunt that has a real live vault. The door is 8 feet in diameter and 3.5 feet thick. Wow. When you walk into this room that is surrounded by 4 feet of concrete on all sides, the pressure changes. You feel it in your ears. It is the creepiest thing. And I've never been able to duplicate that, so that's pretty cool. All right, so that's enough about the vault for the moment. What we're going to talk about is involving people in your haunts. And I love this quote because I think this works for theater in general, but especially for haunts. Tell me and I will forget. Show me and I may remember. Involve me and I will understand. Today we're going to talk about ways to make your guests at your haunts understand the fear you have to offer. Now, some of this is very basic. in the construction of the haunt itself. Transitions and thresholds, going from one room to the next. If you can have, in your haunt, if you can have a door, if your fire marshal will allow you to have a door, there is something about having to open a door that is creepy. You've seen it in every horror film. Tight shut, hand on the doorknob. Door turns, slowly opens, and depending on what era, either something screams at you or nothing happens. And it builds the suspense. Doors are incredibly useful. Curtains, if you can't do doors. Again, you need that cinematic feeling of going to the next thing. Floor surfaces. How is this interactive? Well, anytime a guest has to change the way they walk, you are impacting them. You are making them interact with the environment. Floor coverings, whether it's, and again, these are pictures from the vault as well. If it's a broken tile, that's not a trip hazard. It changes, if it's carpeting, it changes the way you walk. It changes the sound in the room. It forces people to interact differently. I just said carpet. Metal grating. I love metal grating on the floor. Because when you have to walk over metal grating, first of all, it really makes women who are wearing spike heels angry. But it also gives you the opportunity to do lighting effects. It gives you the opportunity to do fog effects. And it makes people walk differently. They interact. They change their behavior based on what you have done. Rat patches. This is something actually, I think, Robbie, I think you came up with this. This was something we did in one of the haunted houses at Howl-O-Scream. We had a room where we wanted it to feel like there were rats all over the room. And so we added pieces of carpet that were rat-shaped to the concrete floor and glued them down. So as you walked, you'd see people walking going, yeah. Because you couldn't see the floor, but it changed and it forced them to interact. It made them react to the environment. Angles, inclines, declines. If you can change the angle of your floor, and not necessarily the crazy house that, you know, everybody walks sideways, but if they have to walk up a ramp or down a ramp, it helps, again, make them react in a different manner. I know this is really, really basic, but people forget that this is actually a form of interaction. Wall textures. Guests invariably will reach out and touch the walls, especially if it's dark. The glorious thing with the vault is we have all these wonderful wall textures. The photo you see down here is actually one of the brick walls, and it's always cold because it's downstairs. It's in the basement. Yes, there are basements in Tampa. So it's just a wonderful thing, very tactile thing. Height and width changes. You know, you've all seen the claustrophobia walls that Scare Products does, that wonderful, you know, keeps you in this way and then pushes you down this way, and anything you can have to push through, again, forcing you to interact. Sideways hallways. This goes back to like the very first year of Howl-O-Scream. It was in a house called Labyrinth of Lost Souls. And what we did was we actually built a hallway that was too narrow to walk through this way. You had to back against a wall and walk sideways. We did have an ADA bypass. But, and I'll tell you what we did with that too in a minute. But what we do is, in addition to having to walk sideways, we also put a slatted wall here with actors behind it. So the actors could get right up into your face and completely break all of that personal space that you had. Now, we didn't want the ADA bypass to be a problem and just to be boring. So we put door knockers on the wall. Now, of course, when anybody sees a door knocker, what's the first thing they do? Bam, 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 bam. So that wall was the shared wall with the people who were walking along this way. We doubled our labor. Steal that, it works. And finally, multiple pathways. If guests have to make a choice, they get very nervous. We did a haunted house called Freaked, which some of the folks in the front row worked. It was a clown-themed, evil clown-themed, and there were multiple paths. And there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pathways that you could go through, and you had to make a choice. And if you're really cruel, yes, you split up groups. I mean that way. Also, talking about basics, I'm not used to wearing glasses with a microphone. It's making all kinds of rubbing sounds. Basics, the actors. How many haunt actors do we have here? You guys are the lifeblood of any haunted attraction, and don't let anybody tell you any different. You are what make or break any haunted attraction. So here's some basics as to what actors can do to help reinforce the interactivity. Number 1, guests' names. Get them. Get them. And there's several ways to do this. Listen. That's the good one. And what's really easy is, you get somebody going in going, oh, come on, Marjorie, don't be such a wimp. And then once one actor says the name, every other actor should know it. Yes, get those names. Listen, pay attention. Have a batcher with a microphone. Have a batcher with a microphone. Yes, this is from a 3D house that we did a couple years ago. Yeah, Circus of Superstition, yes indeedy. And when you've got somebody on a microphone who is talking to people and gets the names, again, helps the actors. It's not just a way to be queue line entertainment. It makes the rest of this experience more interactive. Timed ticketing. Now, I don't know how many haunts do time ticketing at the Transworld show in St. Louis. Brett and the team from Eastern State Penitentiary did a great workshop on time ticketing. Basically what this is knowing when guests are coming to your haunt. If you know when they are coming to your haunt, you know who is coming to your haunt. You know you can prep your actors. Between 10 and 11 o'clock, I know that the Johnson family is coming, they have a party of 3. I know that the Smith family is coming, they have a party of 4. The Vault of Souls is actually taking this to the next level, which I'll get into in just a minute. But time ticketing does give you the advantage of knowing who is coming to your haunt. They know who is going to be there, and you can know their names. Actors can suggest guest-to-guest interaction. When I wrote this, I thought, are people going to think that that's dirty? I didn't mean it to, really. But suggest guest-to-guest interaction. In other words, have guests touch each other. That did sound dirty. But actually have them reach out and take their hand. You. Take her hand. Take it. Guide her into the next room. Interactivity. And I didn't have to pay either one of them, they're now guests. All right. Create if-then scenarios. If a guest does this, it impacts the story. And I'll give you some examples. Let the guest flip the switch. Has anybody ever used an electric chair in one of their haunts? Yeah, I said, one hand, clear back there. The people who make those electric chairs need more people doing this. We actually had one in one of our haunts, and originally we had an actor who was flipping the switch. Right there. And we found that it was actually much more effective to have the actor make the guest flip the switch. Flip it! Flip it! Flip it now! So other than some rude hand gesture, quite often you'd get people to actually throw the switch, and all of a sudden it would affect their environment. Interactivity. They're not just watching the story, they are now part of it. A don't push button trigger. Actually, the best use I've ever seen of this was at Universal Studios at Halloween Horror Nights. They would have big, in the Penn and Teller house, yes, they had a big button that says do not push. The moment you pushed it, it fired a random series of air cannons and sound effects and water and anything else you can think of. Costs this much in actor labor and is something that the guests just do on their own. And again, they feel as though they feel as though they've impacted their surroundings. Let guests inflict the lethal injection. At Busch Gardens, until very recently, last year, we did a haunted house called The Experiment. And and there are some folks who worked that as well. The Experiment was a very personalized haunted house. It was an upcharge within the Howl-O-Scream event. And so therefore, guests were led through at the pace that the actors wanted them to go through. In one of the rooms, there was an actor strapped into a chair, shirtless, with tubes running into his arms. There was a table with 4 syringes on it connected to these tubes. He would beg for them not to touch the syringes. But another character in the room would force them to administer the lethal injection as the actor screamed until he was gone. And yes, it was cruel, it was weird, it was bizarre, but it wasn't just, there's a difference between watching someone else give a lethal injection and being forced to be the one to do it. It takes it to another level. People talk about that kind of thing. Actor gifts. Invest just a tiny amount of money so that Bunny! One of my best friends, Mr. Claude Smith, just came in the room. Have actor gifts. Things that actors can actually give to people. Things as simple as stamps or wristbands. We did a house at Howl-O-Scream quite a few years ago called After Hours, and was later called Club Muse. And this was a haunted house that was all about an after-hours club. And the actor at the front door actually had a hand stamp. Does anybody remember what the hand stamp said? I don't either. No, actually, it said music plus pain equals art. So it was, it was again a way that people could walk away with a little brag tag, and they felt as though they were a character as opposed to just a observer. Goldfish. Entrance numbers. One of the things that we are doing at the Vault of Souls is when you check in, you're given one of these, they're called bolita balls, and they're a Cuban gambling ball, sort of like a lottery. And they have to hold this number until their number's up, until their number gets called to move on to the next section. And so it gives them, again, a prop. Name tags. If you can give your guests name tags, if you have Q Line Entertainment that's out there, you have some whacked out clown character, some scuzzy, I don't know, character out front, have them give name tags, have them write them out, slap them on people's chests. It's perfect. Masks. I already said this is what we're going to do at the Vault of Souls, is put people in masks. So here's some ideas that are a little more, involve some money, but won't necessarily break the bank. Brag tags. Brag tags. And now, I do know whose this was. Does anybody know whose this was?
Michael Roddy's?
No, it's not Michael Roddy's. Michael Roddy was number 1. Anybody know? This was Ricky Briganti, actually. And the only reason I know that is because I stole this picture from his website. But for the experiment that we did at Busch Gardens, you'd have this tag, which was individually numbered, and not only did it give you a prop as a character, it also kept you talking about the event long after it was over. So it kept you involved after the experience. Holding rooms. There are 2 separate rooms in the Vault of Souls, 3 separate rooms in the Vault of Souls guests may or may not see. It depends on whether they're going to be dragged into them and locked in there. Blacklight chalk. Now you're probably thinking, what on earth can I do with blacklight chalk? The joy with blacklight chalk, it's erasable. You can change it. You hear someone's name because the actor just screamed it down the hall, erase what's on the wall and put that person's name in there. They come around the corner and they see their name. Freaky! Encourage guests to touch things. So often in the haunt industry, we have said, ooh, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. At the Vault of Souls, we're going exactly the opposite. We're putting together small wooden boxes throughout that will have 3 or 4 things in them. and we're encouraging guests to open them, to be brazen. Because we are time ticketing, we will know exactly who is in the haunt at any given time. So you may actually find a document with your name on it, with your date of death.
Like that.
And it will probably be the day you visit. The story boxes are a wonderful thing that we're experimenting with. It's basically a wooden box. Inside, like for example, one of them will have 2 human teeth, a small note that said, "I'm sorry," and a baby booty. Write your own story. I have no idea what that means, but to each person it will be different. It will be personal. It will be interactive. Elevators. Elevators are great ways to move you from one space to the other. In the Vault of Souls, we have our own elevator, and in the Alone House in Howl of Scream, we actually recreated an elevator with a special effect. So use them. They're a great way to have some one-on-one time with your guests. Before and after. If you're going to really engage people, it has to start before they get there. It has to start before they get there. Use social media. Create a voice. If you follow the Vault of Souls on Facebook, you'll notice it has a very specific voice. The Facebook voice for the Vault of Souls never capitalizes anything and uses no punctuation, because it is the voice of the spirits who live in the vault, and they respond to things that way. It has created another character. It has created a lot of interest in the experience before it's even opened. It's one of the few experiences that has a 5-star rating and won't open until October. Build an audience. We have posted things on our Facebook page from the spirits of the vault on every holiday. Usually once a week, but especially on every holiday. This was St. Patrick's Day. And yes, I went out in my backyard and found some clover and pressed them, and it was taken in my office on my bookshelves made of cinder block, but anyway. Leak information. Leak information. Let information come out. Don't go and hit people in the face with it. Let it come out. Because let's face it, social media, I'm sure that, looking around the room, I'm sure that half of this has already been tweeted. So we do not live in private anymore. Leak information. Then you can go back later and use your official marketing to confirm it, but leak it up front. Like this character, for example. This is actually a photograph that was taken on the trade show floor in St. Louis at the Transworld Show, because we just bought this prop. I fell in love with it. I took a close-up photo of it, posted it on the Facebook page, messed with it a little bit, posted it on the Facebook page so that they know that she will be there. Invite guests to vote on elements. This is something that Busch Gardens had a tremendous amount of success with. Allow them to vote on things for upcoming houses. Guests have a sense of involvement. They feel like, oh, I voted on that. That's me. I feel good about that. Reply to guests by name. This was an accident that we started doing on the Facebook page and have continued. It's hard to see back there, but when we posted, who will complete the circle and be the 360? This was the 360th like of the page. Who will complete the circle? And a couple people, somebody joined in and then it says, welcome Wendy, you complete the circle, you are the 360. Wendy commented back and said, that's just creepy. Because all of a sudden it's not anonymous, it is interactive. Use social media. It's called social. Use it a lot. If you have a Facebook page that you haven't posted on in more than 3 days, shame on you. And these are just some of the images and posts that have been on the Facebook page for the Vault of Souls. Booking gifts. One of the things that we're going to do, I'm so excited about this I can hardly stand. One of the things we're going to do with Vault of Souls is when you book your ticket, you will receive a gift with backstory. You'll receive a letter from the bank president. You'll receive it, you won't be told you're receiving it, but it'll just show up. So it actually starts before you even get there. One of the things that is going to be in this is some form of a collectible. This is a sample of one of the things that we did. It will, again, share the backstory. We also use newsletters. Keep people posted so that it's not just, oh, it's October, got to think about the haunt. No. Keep them posted. Exit surveys. Now people are thinking, what does that have to do with interactivity? That brings them back the next year. If you ask them, what did you think? What's better? What can we do? Not only do you learn, but they feel involved. It costs you nothing if you're a haunt owner. And of course, lovely parting gifts. The joy about the Vault of Souls, it's the only haunt I know that has valet parking included with every ticket. So when your car comes back, there just might be something sitting on your front seat. And it's not a person. They're cars, not doom buggies, okay? And it won't be like poop or anything like that. But it won't be hitchhiking ghosts, no. But it just might be a hand-rolled cigar and a rose. Expensive toys. These are the things that we're going to experiment with, and I know other people have experimented with, and if you have, please come up and talk to me afterwards, because I want to know whether it worked or not. RFID chips. We are in Orlando, and not far from Disney, where they know where you are every moment. We too, at the Vault of Souls, are going to LoJack our guests. What this will allow us to do is they will be greeted by name. Everybody know what RFID chips are, by the way? Good, because I can't explain them really well. But basically, it's a way of tracking people. And so when they walk up to every bar, we'll be able to greet them by name. We'll be able to know whether they're between 18 and 21 or over the age of 21. There's also a specific room where guests can be greeted by name by a character who is facing away from them. So they can simply turn, they can say their name, turn, and welcome them in. Or chastise them for being there, depending on what's going on at the time. So we're going to experiment with that and see how that works. We're also experimenting, there's something that I've seen at a couple of trade shows, it's not on the floor here, but the transparent video monitors. Our tech folks went back to the company and got a few of those, but took it to the next level. And they got touchscreen transparent video monitors. Now basically what these are, they look like a pane of glass when you look at them. And then the moment current comes through it, it actually shows the image. And if you put it in front of something, it creates an image that's sort of floating in space. We now have touch screen versions of those, so that the character can actually come out, brush their hand across a window, and a ghost will follow. Guest research. Because we are doing everything pre-booked, we have a team of people who will be doing guest research, finding their Facebook pages, finding their Twitter accounts. Everything is published. No, we are not going to be that creepy, but you might say, but they might be able to say, oh, Martha, you're here. Is your husband Bob with you? Is this Bob? Which might be scarier for us than them, I don't know. We will be, as I mentioned earlier, we will be doing a live video feed from inside the house that will be sent up to our speakeasy so guests can watch other guests getting scared. That's really what I wanted to talk about as far as interactive stuff. I did want to leave enough time for questions in case you did have anything about interactive haunting, about the Vault of Souls itself, about just anything that I've done in my career with haunting. Any questions? What a knowledgeable crowd. Yes?
This is very similar to the Sleep No More experience in New York. Was that your template for the
actually, it is inspired by Sleep No More. It is. I say it's Sleep No More with a haunt and more bars. So I love Sleep No More. It's a phenomenal experience. The difference between this and Sleep No More, in my opinion, Sleep No More is much more presentational in its performance style. This is more reality-based. So they will actually talk to you. Instead of just dancing their way through and getting you involved, they will refer to you by name.
Are you doing the one-on-one like you do?
Yes.
Oh, that's so
yes.
creepy.
Yes, we will. And that's kind of the rooms off to themselves. Yes, sir?
What is the notional pricing point you have in mind?
The tickets will start at $100 per person, and they will go up to, the gold standard will be $400 per person. Now, some of you are going, oh my God. But keep in mind, this is an entire evening of elegant fear, and with the $400 price point, all of your alcoholic beverages are covered. It includes food. We are also, and by we in this particular case, I do mean me, I am writing a, some of you are going, hey, for $400 I could just really mess them up. But I will be, I'm actually writing a book of poetry, because Robbie mentioned the book that's out now. I'm writing another book called Souls, and it's a poem for each character in the house, and that we're using that as our program. And they will receive an autographed copy of that at the higher end price point. They also get to meet with the creative staff. They have their own private lounge which overlooks the opening bar. It's keys, I mean, it really is keys to the kingdom. They have full concierge and multiple visits to the ritual downstairs as well.
When are you intending to start taking bookings?
Tickets will go on sale. Right now, it looks like it's going to be in July. I can't give you a specific date, but they'll be going on sale in the summer. And interestingly enough, we're not marketing this locally. We are marketing it locally, but we're also marketing, we've already done some interviews in the European market, because let's face it, folks come from Europe to Central Florida at that time of year to experience all the wonderful haunt experiences that happen here. And we figured they're the ones that will probably have the money, especially if the exchange rate is good. We will also be advertising in New York and Atlanta. So, sir.
One thing I wanted to say, more than ask, but on elaboration about what you were saying, the importance of saying somebody's name and how to get it. Just 2 years ago, whenever I was in the Nevermore house, I had somebody coming through, and they're like, Michael, come on. And I was like, hi, Michael. And it's almost like they forgot, because he goes, how do you know my name? Instantly.
And of course, the last thing you want to do is, well, he just said it.
Yeah,
It sounds like you're going to dig deep into social media to get a lot of, not just personal, but be able to dig into their past and find friends and try to get information for everybody to make it really
Personal.
kind of almost like one of those Long Island medium type things when you get...
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, sir.
So is there going to be like a recommended dress code?
Recommended dress code. Excellent question. We had to actually craft it very carefully because we don't want people coming in full 1920s costume, which for this group would be fine because you know, I'm sure some of you can just go to your closet and go, yeah, I got that. But we have said, and I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, but it's smart casual attire of your own era with sensible shoes, because you will be walking on uneven ground in a very low light scenario. And we say that so that it won't offend the spirits of the 20s.
You can also add, or you may need to run.
Or you may need to run. Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Yes?
Is there going to be a time limit in the downstairs area?
As it stands right now, there will not be a set time limit. However, the actor training, just like it has been at Howl-O-Scream, is such that when it's time to move on, they will have ways to get people to continue forward movement. Considering that this is non-linear, keep in mind that there are dead ends. There are places that you will get to and you will have to turn around and go back through what you just came through. So the performers will need to be able to handle characters, guests coming from all different angles. They will have to live fully in their environment. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate on your advertising, marketing, how you allocate it, what you find to be the best thing for your buck?
You know, yes, I will. The challenge is this is new, and it is certainly new for Tampa. This kind of haunt, there's nothing exactly like it. I think Sleep No More is probably the closest. But there's still not exactly, there's not a model to follow yet. So we're kind of experimenting as we go. We're looking a lot at really the two ends of the media. We're looking a lot at electronic media, social media, and print media. Because if we're looking at a certain age demographic, the people who have the money to spend on this. Because I'm not going to sit here and say I could afford to go. I'm glad they're paying me. So we have to make certain that we are looking at. We will be, for example, we'll be doing print media in New York and Atlanta. We will be doing some unusual guerrilla-style marketing throughout the city of Tampa. No, we're not sending gorillas or anything, but
gorillas all handing out bananas.
Everybody's looking at it, and my friends from Busch Gardens are going, "Don't do the gorilla thing." But there will be that you will see the spirits of the vault appearing at large venues. There is also right now there will be a very large presence in downtown Tampa that I can't talk about until it's finally approved. But so we're using some rather unusual ways to get the most, to your point, to get the most bang for the buck. Because we don't need to drive thousands of people each night, we will not be doing television ads. There's no point. It's a waste of money. So we're really going to focus and target and hopefully tie into a lot of word of mouth. You'll notice that our Facebook page is significantly more active than our Instagram page, because Instagram skews significantly younger. Facebook skews my age, believe it or not.
Which is 29.
Yeah, now it does. So there's a lot more on Facebook than there will be on Instagram, and absolutely nothing on Vine yet. So, yes.
Is it going to be kind of like a haunted escape room type of view?
People have made that connection. There will be a few elements that are escape room, but it's not in one room. And you don't have to solve that. You may be asked to participate. You may be asked to do things. You may be locked in a room by yourself, but you won't be asked to do things specifically in order to move on. Does that make sense? Cool. Yes?
Will the actors be able to touch you?
Will the actors be able to touch you? Yes. Yes, they will. There is no waiver involved. There is no waiver involved. But you will be told you cannot make contacts with the spirits in the ritual. However, they may make contact with you. We're referring to it as guiding contact. So again, they may put their hand on their shoulder to move you through. But since we've got cameras everywhere, we're pretty safe that, nobody's going to say, well, they touched me wrong, or they punched me, or something like that. Well, let's look at the tape, shall we? Let's watch the replay. Anybody else? Yes?
Well, you just said replay. So my question now is, when you're on the third level of the speakeasy, and you can watch the people in the house,
yes.
Will there be any replay? Will you be able to see any of the video when you were in the house?
We haven't talked about that yet, but that's a great idea. I may steal that. That's a neat idea.
Steal it.
Thank you. Thank you. You've all heard it. She said I could steal it. That's great. Anything? Yes, sir.
Are you going to do any tours where you're hooked up to a GoPro and you see the experience from your point of view? You take that video home with you?
At this point, no. That may happen next year. We did discuss that, but at this point, no. I saw a hand back there as well. Yes? No? Just waving. Yes?
Will, like anyone from off the street be able to go up to the speakeasy just to kind of
No.
get an idea?
No. This is a very exclusive. In fact, you won't even necessarily see a sign outside that says the Vault of Souls. It's very exclusive and sneaky. Yes?
Can guests run into each other? Or is it completely?
Absolutely.
No, they can't.
Absolutely. But keep in mind that every guest is wearing a neutral white face mask and cannot speak. So in essence, as we discovered with Sleep No More, in essence, the guests become additional characters. Because you walk around the corner and you see somebody who can't talk and you're trying to find your way out. It's like, I just went that way. What did you see? I can't talk. And if there's a character there and you start talking, shh. Anything else? Yes?
Are you going to be able to stop people from taking pictures, using their cell phone in there?
There were no cell phones in the 1920s. The other advantage is this is in the basement of a bank vault. Your cell phone ain't going to work. And honestly, again, don't tell anybody. Especially you on the camera, don't tell anybody. We are going to put a dampening field to make certain that cell phones will not work.
Are you going to try to open next year so those of us who probably can't afford a $400 price don't?
It all depends on how it goes this year, quite honestly. I mean, like I said, we have 10 nights. We have 10 nights to make it right. And what's very interesting is already we have had interest from very large organizations to do buyout nights, which we're totally open to. They're not cheap, but these are much bigger organizations than we ever thought. So we're a little tickled.
So it's like Netherworld stayed open a weekend after, so those of us who work on season and don't get to go see
Right.
other haunts, we were able to
There has not been talk to do that. There has been some preliminary discussions based on the success or failure. I mean, this is all new, so it could just. I think it's going to be successful. I don't know, but we'll see. If it is successful, we've also talked about doing it on the 13th of every month. So we will see it. You may see, and again, this is too early to say, but you may see a little bit more of a permanent haunt in Tampa in the future. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. From your mouth to God's ear. Yes.
Are there safety features involved in terms of if a guest has a panic attack
Yes.
or a medical? How are you working that in?
Yes, there are folks. The nice thing about all the guests being in masks, we can have our staff in masks as well, and there will be multiple people there to observe. There are also safe words. There's also emergency egress as well. So all of these things. Safety is, I didn't talk a lot about safety, but safety, of course, is job one. And the nice thing is, because it's a low capacity, we can keep our safety. Our safety is a lot more eyes on, as opposed to, we've got to make certain that 5 million people can get out through this one door. No, that's not our issue. Our issue is making certain we are able to identify where everybody is. Another reason why the RFID chips are so important. Because that way we can track people throughout the experience. Yes, sir.
What is your net capacity?
It has not been established yet. I know what we're targeting, and I'd rather not say at this point because I don't know how close we're going to get to it. But we're looking. Like I said, it will be no more than a total of 5,000 for the entire season. So I'm sure you can do the math of 10 nights. So I was told there wouldn't be any math. All right. Anybody else? I know a lot of you want to go see the Universal panel, so I'm going to let you all go. If you want to talk, yes, ma'am. Real quick. Do I have any free passes? Wait a minute. No, but hold on.
Show yourself.
Hold on. Wait, does Scott have swag? Yes, of course he does. Here you go. I have, because you were the kind person who asked, not only do I have buttons for you, I also have a copy of my poetry book. There you go. All right. If you would like swag, I do have buttons and cards up here. I have a limited number, so please don't charge. But help yourself. Chat with me. I'll be here until Sunday morning, so if you see me around and want to ask questions, please do. Thank you guys very, very much.